The interrogation room was cold, sterile, and smelled faintly of floor wax and stale coffee. Across the metal table sat a man who, until 10 minutes ago, looked like the grieving victim of an unthinkable tragedy. He had cried on camera. He had pleaded for the safe return of his wife. He had held a candlelight vigil while neighbors wept beside him. But Detective Miller didn't look at the tears. He looked at the hands. The man's knuckles were white, gripping the edge of the table as if trying to hold the world together. Then, the question came. It wasn't about the blood in the garage or the late-night phone calls. It was a simple clinical question about a receipt found in a trash can 3 towns away. In that heartbeat, the mask didn't just slip, it shattered. His breath hitched, his eyes darted to the corners of the room, and for the first time, the grieving husband was replaced by a predator realizing the cage door had just locked. This is the story of a crime hidden behind a perfect smile and the one question that brought a monster into the light. The setting was Oakwood Heights, a suburb where the lawns were manicured with surgical precision and the silence of the night was usually broken only by the chirping of crickets. In 2022, this was the home of Thomas and Elena Vance. To the outside world, they were the golden couple. Thomas was a high-earning consultant with a penchant for expensive watches and a charismatic laugh. Elena was a beloved elementary school teacher, the kind of person who remembered every student's birthday. Their life was a curated gallery of success, a 4-bedroom colonial house, luxury SUVs, and social media feeds filled with sunset dinners and hiking trips. However, beneath the granite countertops and designer clothes, the foundation was rotting. Friends would later recall that Thomas had a way of looking through you when he thought no one was watching. He was a man obsessed with control, not just of his finances but of his image. To Thomas Vance, life wasn't a journey. It was a performance. And in the late autumn of that year, the performance was reaching a breaking point. Debts were mounting, an affair was simmering in the background. And Elena had finally started asking the one thing Thomas couldn't handle: the truth about where the money was going. November 14th was an unusually foggy Tuesday. The mist clung to the trees like a damp shroud. Inside the Vance residence, the atmosphere was suffocating. We reconstruct the scene not through witness accounts, but through the chilling physical evidence left behind. Imagine the ticking of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Elena is in the kitchen, packing her bag for school the next morning. Thomas enters. There is no shouting. There is only the cold, calculated movement of a man who has already decided the ending of this story. He approaches her from behind. The struggle is brief but violent. The silence of the neighborhood remains undisturbed as a life is extinguished in the heart of domestic bliss. Thomas doesn't panic, not yet. He is a consultant, he solves problems. He treats his wife's body as a logistical hurdle. He spends the next 4 hours cleaning, scrubbing, and orchestrating a disappearance. He drives her car to a remote train station, leaves her phone on a public bench, and walks 3 miles back in the dark, weaving through shadows to avoid security cameras. He returns home, pours a glass of scotch, and calls the police at 3 a.m., his voice trembling with the perfect amount of terror. When the police arrived, they found a distraught Thomas Vance. He played the part of the confused husband to perfection. He suggested Elena might have been depressed or had a secret stalker. For the first 48 hours, the community rallied around him. But detectives are trained to look for the too perfect reaction. Detective Sarah Miller noticed that while Thomas cried, his eyes remained dry. She noticed that the house smelled too much of bleach for a Tuesday night. The breakthrough didn't come from a DNA match or a smoking gun. It came from a digital footprint. Thomas had turned off his GPS, but he forgot about the smart refrigerator in his kitchen and the automated light system. The logs showed movement in the house at 1:45 a.m., lights turning on and off in the basement, during the exact window he claimed to be asleep. Then came the interrogation. Hours of circular questioning led to the moment of the question. Miller leaned in and asked, "Thomas, if you were home all night, why did a gas station surveillance camera 60 miles away capture your reflection in the window at 4:12 a.m.? While you were buying a pack of cigarettes you didn't even smoke?" The silence that followed was deafening. Thomas didn't answer. He couldn't. He began to hyperventilate. The sweat broke through his expensive foundation. He realized that in his quest to be the smartest man in the room, he had overlooked a single reflective pane of glass. To understand the gravity of this slip, we must look deeper into the weeks leading up to the disappearance. Elena had begun documenting Thomas's erratic behavior in a hidden journal, one that he didn't find during his frantic cleanup. She wrote about the coldness in his eyes, and the way he would stand in the doorway of their bedroom just watching her sleep. The financial records showed that Thomas had lost nearly $300,000 in high-risk crypto investments and was skimming from his clients' accounts. The pressure of the impending audit was the catalyst. He needed Elena's life insurance, but more than that, he needed her to stop asking questions. During the third day of the trial, the prosecution played the 911 call. If you listen closely, you can hear a faint metallic clink in the background. The sound of Thomas putting away a cleaning spray bottle while he pretended to be discovering his wife missing. The jury watched as Thomas sat motionless, his face a mask of calculated indifference. His defense team tried to argue that the reflection at the gas station was a case of mistaken identity, but the forensic evidence was insurmountable. They found microscopic traces of Elena's blood embedded in the grooves of his wedding ring, a detail he had missed even after scrubbing his hands raw. The psychological profile of Thomas Vance revealed a man with deep-seated narcissistic personality disorder. He didn't see Elena as a person, but as an asset that had turned into a liability. The perfect husband was a character he had played for 15 years, and when the script went off course, he decided to write a final tragic scene. But even the best writers make mistakes. Thomas's mistake was his arrogance. He believed he was faster, smarter, and more careful than the small-town detectives. He underestimated the power of a single, persistent question. The courtroom was silent as the verdict was read, life without parole. As he was led away in chains, he didn't look at Elena's sobbing parents. He didn't look at the cameras. He looked at Detective Miller, a look of pure, unadulterated hatred. He had been beaten at his own game. Today the house in Oakwood Heights sits empty. The manicured lawn is overgrown, and the neighbors walk a little faster when they pass the driveway. It remains a monument to the fact that evil doesn't always wear a hood or carry a weapon in the open. Sometimes it wears a tailored suit and tells you it loves you before it tucks you into bed. The case of Thomas and Elena Vance is a chilling testament to the fragility of the suburban dream, and the darkness that can thrive in the brightest of places. As we close this file, we are left with the echoing silence of that interrogation room. The truth didn't come out through a grand confession or a dramatic breakdown. It came out because a killer couldn't explain a single moment in time. He panicked, and in that panic, the world finally saw him for what he truly was. A coward hiding behind a ghost. What do you think was the exact moment Thomas realized he was caught? Was it the mention of the gas station, or did he know the second the detectives walked through his door? Drop your theories in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If you found this deep dive chilling, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Midnight Crime Vault. Turn on the bell notifications so you never miss a descent into the dark side of the human psyche. We have many more secrets to uncover. Until next time, stay vigilant. The shadows are closer than they appear. Would you like me to analyze another case of a perfect life gone wrong? Or should we look into the unsolved mysteries of the high seas? Let me know. Subscribing helps us keep these stories alive and ensures that victims like Elena are never forgotten. Join the vault today.